September 23rd, District Court, Courtroom number 3. Rather, Defendant Lobby number 3. Now we'll have to face Pierce on the stand. I'm not sure if I should be surprised or not. One thing's for sure, he won't be an easy adversary. So, do you think Pierce did it? It's too early to say anything at this point, but I do think he's still hiding something. Nick! Why didn't you pin everything on Sorin Loser back there? Looks like Larry still hasn't given up on Ellen. If this Pierce guy is the real bad guy, then Sorin and my Ellie will live happily ever after together. Larry, that's not the kind of thing a decent human being says. Shame on you, Larry. Oh, boo-hoo. You think I don't know? I know I have to give up on my Ellie. But Nick, promise you'll make her happy. She deserves a happily ever after. I'm sure Sorin will make her happy once all of this is said and done. The trial's about to resume, Mr. Wright. Alright, you ready, Maya? Yep, let's go. I'll be rooting for you, Nick. September 23rd, District Court, Courtroom number 6. This court is now back in session. Witness, please take the stand. Please state your name and occupation. My name is Pierce Nichody. I am the Sprocket family butler. Let's get straight to the point, Mr. Nichody. Someone tore out a page from Mr. Sprocket's notebook to manipulate his memories. And that person was you, wasn't it? That is correct. What about it? Well, that was easy. So why did you do it? Why did you tamper with Mr. Sprocket's notebook? Please allow me to explain. It pains me to do this, but I will tell you the truth. It pains you? That is correct. For my testimony will go against Master Sorin's wishes. Sorin's wishes? What is he talking about? Witness testimony. Why I tore out the page. I rushed to the Vista deck, but the crime had already been committed. I saw Miss Ellen and Bloomsbury collapsed and Mr. Sorin writing in his notebook. Master Sorin said to me, I'll take the blame for the murder, so please take care of Ellen. But I went against his order. I tore the page out of his notebook and hid the body. Wait a second. What Mr. Sprocket was writing in his notebook at the time? Could it be? It was meant to be a confession, an admission he killed Bloomsbury himself. He wrote that message to take the blame for Miss Wyatt? That is correct. Master Sorin did hit Bloomsbury with the timekeeper to save Miss Ellen. And Mr. Sprocket was the culprit after all. However, that blow did not kill Bloomsbury. That makes sense. Mr. Sprocket's injury wouldn't allow him to put much force into it. Enraged, Bloomsbury tried to attack Master Sorin, who was already seriously wounded. But just in the nick of time, Miss Helen hit Bloomsbury from behind and finished him off, it would seem. So the one who inflicted the fatal blow was the defendant? Yes, that is correct. But Master Sorin tried to take all the blame onto himself. No way! This is pretty bad, Nick. No kidding. Pretty bad is an understatement. Well, Mr. Wright, it seems your decision to call for Mr. Nichody has backfired. For the true culprit behind the case remains the defendant, Ellen Wyatt. Could this get any worse? But Pierce was involved in the cover-up plot, and I bet he still has something to hide. And hopefully we're gonna find out. I rushed to the Vista deck, but the crime had already been committed. I saw Miss Ellen and Bloomsbury collapsed, and Master Sorin writing in his notebook. Master Sorin said to me, I'll take the blame for the murder, so please take care of Ellen. but I went against his order. I tore the page out of his notebook and hit the body. Mr. Nichody, could you please tell the court about it in more detail? That, you say? Which part do you mean, Mr. Wright? Could you be more specific? Oh, all right. What part do I want to know more about? Hiding the body. Please tell me more about the hiding of the body. Very well. After saying he would take the blame, Master Sorin passed out. That's when I hit the body. I quickly took the lift down to the hold, where I hid Bloomsbury's still warm body in the spare peggable lantern. So it was you who hit the body, not the defendant. To think Mr. Butz would move the lantern containing the body to the reception hall, well, I did not see that coming. I don't blame you. Not even Larry can predict what Larry will do next. Maybe I should take another look at the lantern in evidence. Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony? Yeah. Yes, please. Very well. Please add that statement to your testimony, Mr. Nichody. In the hold, I hid the still warm body in the spare peggable lantern. In the spare peggable lantern, they say, eh? Okay, let's present it and find out. Could it be? Is that what happened? If what I'm thinking is true, then maybe I can prove neither Ellen nor Sorin did the deed. Mr. Nichody, you said the body was still warm when you hit it, correct? So then what if Mr. Bloomsbury was still alive when you went to put his body inside the lantern? What? What? That's preposterous. Actually, this shows that the victim might have still been alive while inside the lantern. I'm afraid you'll have to point out which part you're talking about, Mr. Wright. This part here shows that the victim might have still been alive inside the lantern. The wheel handle. Right here.
Take that!
As you can see, the back end of the lantern is a door, and there's blood here on the wheel handle. That blood stain must have gotten there when the witness put the body inside the lantern. It in no way shows that the victim drew his last breath while he was within the lantern. I disagree, Mr. Edgeworth, for you see, in putting this lantern back together, the police inadvertently placed the inside handle on the outside and vice versa. In other words, the wheel handles got swapped. Oh my, so they got swapped? Yes, they got swapped. What? But that's ridiculous. Not at all, if you compare the other male peggable lantern in the reception hall. It's quite obvious the wheel handles were attached backwards. The detective in charge of the restoration will see me in my office later. Sorry, Emma, and good luck. In that case, what does the bloodstain on the wheel handle mean? The bloodstain didn't get there by chance. When the victim was put inside the lantern, he was only unconscious, not dead. When he regained consciousness, he probably tried to get out of the lantern. So he grasped the inner wheel handle, and that's when the blood got on it. This proves that the victim was still alive when he was inside the lantern. At the time, I was completely convinced Bloomsbury was dead. Had I checked more carefully, he might have survived. Unfortunate to be sure, but not significant enough to change the trial's outcome. Again, I disagree, Mr. Edgeworth. It actually has a very significant impact on this case. The victim was struck by the defendant, then died from his injuries sometime later. There's nothing more to it.
Objection!
That's where you're wrong. Let's take another look at Mr. Bloomsbury's autopsy report, shall we? Please focus on the description of his injuries. It says one concussion was found on the back of the head and one on the side. Yes, the one Mr. Sprocket gave him and the one Miss Wyatt delivered to finish him off. No, the defense would like to submit a different interpretation. A different interpretation? The victim was knocked unconscious by the first blow and was then put in the lantern. Then what about the lethal blow by the defendant that the witness talked about? Yes, well, that didn't happen. After some time, when the victim regained consciousness and tried to get out of the lantern, That's when he received the second blow that finished him off. Taking into account the fact that the victim was alive for a period after the first hit, and that he did receive a second blow to the head, it does seem entirely possible. Yes, as long as the first blow didn't kill the victim instantly. Then there's a possibility that someone other than Mr. Sprocket or Miss Wyatt delivered the fatal blow.
Objection!
That's all you've got? Even if there was a time lag between the two blows, the prosecution's position doesn't change. What? What do you mean? It's elementary, Mr. Wright. After the reception, when the defendant was cleaning up the reception hall, the victim, who was supposed to be dead, suddenly came out of a lantern. The defendant grabbed the murder weapon, which was right there, and finished him off. That theory sounds awfully familiar. Of course it does, Your Honor, because it's exactly what I proposed at the very start. The second blow was inflicted by the defendant after all. I see. It seems a tangle of mysteries have unraveled into a single thread.
Objection!
We're not done yet. But as long as there's a possibility that the fatal blow was delivered by a third person, then we must continue the deliberations. Give it up, Mr. Wright. Unless you have something to prove of the presence of your precious third person.
Okay, Nick, just relax. You can do this. Come on now, take some deep breaths.
Good idea. Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
There, don't you feel better already?
Maya's right. I should calm down, get my focus back, and go over everything again. And then hopefully I'll be able to find something to prove there was a third person. Let's see. First, why did Bloomsbury attack Ellen?
Because he was tired of taking the blame for the accident?
But something about that line of reasoning just doesn't feel quite right to me.
No? How come?
Well, if it's just a personal vendetta, he had already stabbed Sorin. So why then was he so determined to go after Ellen?
You're right. This whole thing feels too premeditated for a crime of passion.
But Bloomsbury didn't seem to have a personal grudge against Ellen. If Bloomsbury didn't have a personal reason to attack Ellen, then... You've taken long enough, Mr. Wright. Now it's time for some action. What proof do you have that a third person was involved? All right, I'll show you. I'm not completely sure of what I'm doing yet, but it looks like I'm out of time. This piece of evidence proves the involvement of a third person. Bloomsbury's note.
Take that!
I get it now. Now I see why this note bothered me so much when I first saw it. It looks like a note outlining the murder plot.
That note was apparently written by the victim.
But why would he feel the need to write instructions to himself like this? Your Honor, please take a look at this note. This is the victim's murder plan, right? It's definitely a murder plan, but what if Mr. Bloomsbury didn't write this note himself? What? This is how you intend to conjure up your mysterious third party, Mr. Wright? Can you even prove that notebook wasn't written by the victim? Yes. Yes, I can. Very well, then. Please present your evidence, Mr. Wright. This evidence proves that the victim didn't write the note. The candelabra.
Take that!
This is the weapon Mr. Bloomsbury used to stab Mr. Sprocket. I was wondering what you'd pull out this time. Dare I ask what that could possibly have to do with the note? Mr. Bloomsbury's prints were found on this candelabra, and the prints were from his left hand. So that makes the victim left-handed, correct? Exactly, Your Honor. The police looked into it too and confirmed as much. Now take a look at the smudged writing in this note. Notice how the smudging only starts from the middle of each preceding line? Had this been written by a lefty, the writing would have been smudged from the far left end. This means that whoever wrote this note was definitely right-handed. In other words, somebody other than the victim wrote this note. What? But if someone other than Mr. Bloomsbury wrote it, then what does that note mean? Mr. Bloomsbury followed this note to the letter when he attacked Miss Wyatt. So clearly this note isn't a murder plan written by Mr. Bloomsbury, but rather, these are instructions to kill Miss Wyatt issued by somebody else.
Objection!
If it wasn't the victim who wrote these so-called instructions, then who wrote it? Most of the people involved are right-handed, you know. He is correct. The majority of the family and their employees who were on the airship are indeed right-handed. I must say, that is a very rough and slipshod conjecture you proposed.
I admit, I haven't figured out who wrote it just yet. Leave it to Mr. Edgeworth to go for the jugular. This culprit who ordered Gloomsbury to attack Ellen. What could their motive have been? It doesn't seem very likely Ellen did anything to incur anybody's wrath, right?
Right. Not too likely, anyway. In that case, it has to be about Sorin.
If somebody were to hold a grudge against Sorin, what would it be about?
That accident, I guess. I could understand if Bloomsbury felt resentful about having to take the blame.
But the one who lost the most to that accident was Sorin's sister. She lost her life after all. Sorin suffered too, of course. He was crushed by losing somebody so precious to him.
Somebody precious, huh? Sorin's sister. Wait, there's one more person. There's someone else who must hold a grudge against Sorin.
Did you figure something out?
I think so. I think this somebody else used Gloomsbury to try to get revenge against Sorin. Did you say somebody tried to get revenge against Mr. Sprocket, Mr. Wright?
The person who manipulated and used Mr. Gloomsbury was Selena's fiancé.
The person who used Mr. Gloomsbury to try and get revenge on Mr. Sprocket and then finished Mr. Gloomsbury off to silence him was a man dear to Mr. Sprocket's older sister, Selena Sprocket's fiancé. Not that I'm not positive, but it's certainly possible. This fiancé could have made Gloomsbury attack Ellen to get his revenge on Sorin. What? Her fiancé? Order in the court! Order, I say! Yes, it does seem quite believable that Miss Selena Sprocket's fiancé would bear a grudge against Mr. Sprocket for his role in the accident.
Exactly, Your Honor. Maybe your fiancé was trying to murder Miss Wyatt in order to make Mr. Sprocket experience the same pain he felt.
Objection!
Miss Sprocket's fiancé was a surgeon, if memory serves, but the only people who attended the reception were family and staff members.
That may be, but then that just means that Miss Sprocket's fiancé must have been among those who attended. What? Really?
Of course. Otherwise, how could he have killed Gloomsbury?
Oh, I see what you're doing. This is just another giant bluff, isn't it?
All right, I'll bite. Who exactly do you claim this fiancé to be? Yes, I would like to know as well.
Are you sure you're going to be okay, Nick?
Maybe. When it comes to suspicious people, there's only one person on my list. I need to find something that connects him to Selena. This will help us identify Miss Sprocket's fiancé, Selena Sprocket's photo.
Take that!
Please take a look at this photo, Your Honor. That photo. Notice Miss Sprocket's pocket watch? Haven't we seen it somewhere before? Yes, now that you mention it, I do feel as if I've seen it somewhere before. I believe we've all seen it, right here in this very courtroom. Impossible. That's right, the pocket watch in this photo. Is the same pocket watch Mr. Nichody has on him right now. What? This is clear proof of a strong connection between Pierce Nichody and Selena Sprocket. No. Well, Mr. Nichody, is this true? Mr. Nichody, you were once engaged to Selena Sprocket. That pocket watch, you keep it as a memento of her, don't you? Mr. Nichody, you plan to rob Mr. Sprocket of his loved one, to make him feel the same pain as you. Isn't that right? But Mr. Sprocket managed to fight back and knock Mr. Gloomsbury unconscious. You thought Mr. Gloomsbury was dead and hid his body in the lantern. But then you noticed Mr. Gloomsbury regained consciousness.
and so you finished him off to prevent your plan from being exposed. This is the defense's take on what really happened in this murder case.
Mr. Wright, does this mean you wish to officially accuse this witness of the murder of Dumas Bloomsbury?
Does the defense accuse Mr. Nichody of the murder?
Yes.
The defense indicts Pierce Nichody on the charge of murdering Dumas Bloomsbury.
Oh my. Mr. Nichody, would you care to respond? Man, this lawyer just yaps on and on and on.
As you guess, this watch is a memento of Selena. It stopped working at the time of the accident, though. Then you really are...
Yes, I was Selena's fiancé, and not just her fiancé, but the surgeon beside her deathbed.
Objection!
Mr. Nichody, why didn't you tell me any of this before? Shut it, you useless prosecutor. I thought you could be of use, but apparently this case was too much for you. What did you say?
If your office hadn't stuck its nose up all in this, I could have swept it under the rug. Not only did you interfere with the case, but you even let me fall under suspicion. That's because you kept trying to cover things up on the sly. But covering things up wasn't your only involvement. The only person who had a motive to use the victim to try and kill Miss Wyatt was you.
Malignant tumors. There are malignant tumors in this courtroom. Lesions oozing with false charges. The tumors are one idiotic lawyer and one useless prosecutor. After the truth is revealed, I'll have the both of you incised from the legal world.
I'd like to see you try.
With the power of a sprocket family, it'd be a cinch. I will now begin the operation.
What in the world happened to Mr. Nichody? Looks like he's finally showing his true colors. Nick, look what he did to that shoulder neck.
Quit your yapping before I suture your chatty lips shut.
It's like he's a completely different person. Sure looks like it, huh? We can't let our guards down now. Mr. Nichody, it's finally time for you to testify to the truth.
It seems we're entering the final act at last. Witness, your testimony, please. Witness testimony. Right to remain silent.
Mr. Nichody, why didn't you say anything? Ah! He just took a picture of me. Or something.
You want me to voluntarily testify hoping I will make a slip of the tongue. Not a very impressive plan or brain, I might add.
Ow. That was uncalled for. If you want to know something, you ask the question. I will answer, but I have no intention of making any voluntary statements of my own. What's he trying to do, Nick? He's using the silent treatment as a strategy to avoid getting tripped up. Clever guy. No more lies, Mr. Nichody. You will tell us nothing but the truth from now on.
What do you think you're doing?
No one asked you to speak. Just keep quiet over there and play with your frills.
How dare you? Well, this is a rather unconventional situation, but please proceed, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. Last testimony,
Last hurrah. Let's get it done. You gotta press every statement. You got to.
If he won't speak voluntarily, then I guess I'll have to ask him something. What questions should I ask? Okay, reason for killing Bloomsbury. Isn't it true that when Mr. Bloomsbury regained consciousness inside the lantern, you murdered him in order to silence him? He was an excellent employee and very loyal to me. Bloomsbury was my right-hand man. I'd suffer the most from losing him.
You really think I'd kill a guy like that?
That would make sense only if you were innocent, but since your goal was revenge, you don't really have to care about something like that.
But I am innocent, I tell you. Don't try to force your conjectures onto me.
Ugh. I guess without decisive evidence, I can't pursue this line of questioning any further.
Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony?
Yes, please, Your Honor. Every little bit I can drag out of him helps, right?
Bloomsbury was my right-hand man. I'd suffer the most from losing him.
Hold it! If he won't speak voluntarily, then I guess I'll have to ask him something. Okay. Grudge against Sorin. You've been nursing a grudge against Mr. Sprocket over the loss of your fiancée. Isn't that right?
I'd be lying if I said I felt no resentment whatsoever.
But Master Sorin didn't cause that accident on purpose. Master Sorin himself suffered greatly. But you quit being a surgeon and found a way to get even closer to Mr. Sprocket. Wasn't that so you could carry out your revenge on him? Don't insult me. Supporting Master Sorin and Sprocket Aviation was my life's work. It's my penance for not being able to save Selena. That is how I honor her. I feel your devotion as both a fiancé and as a surgeon. Your statement breaks my heart. I've never thought of exacting revenge on Master Sorin. Never thought of it? Huh. I guess I should probably take that with a pound of salt.
Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony?
Yes, please, Your Honor.
I have to find an opening somehow. I've never thought of exacting revenge on Master Sorin.
Hold it! If he won't speak voluntarily, then I guess I'll have to ask him something. Actions on the day of the crime. On the day of the incident, you were constantly surrounded by your subordinates. Is that right? Absolutely. I was in someone's line of sight at all times. After all, I was busy taking care of every detail of the event. Mr. Edgeworth, I believe your investigation backs up my claim. I got statements that said groups of his subordinates worked with him in rotation, so he was always with someone. As the prosecutor just said, I couldn't even get close to the lantern containing Bloomsbury by myself, let alone kill him. Pierce didn't have a chance to get close to the victim alone, huh? Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony? Yes. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to have that statement added to his testimony.
Very well.
I was always in the company of others. I didn't have any opportunity to murder Bloomsbury. Here's the thing, you bozo. You had every opportunity, and this photo proves it! Mr. Nichody testifies that he was always with someone at the time of the incident, and never had a moment alone to commit the crime.
Yes, and the police investigation backs that statement up, doesn't it?
But there was an opportunity, in fact. One, and only one. A moment when Mr. Nichody could have killed Mr. Bloomsbury without anyone noticing.
What?
And the one thing that made that moment possible is shown here in this photograph. With all those people watching, I couldn't have possibly committed murder. Do not believe him, Your Honor. This lawyer is a malignant tumor. He wants to infect this judicial body with virulent accusations. Mr. Nichody, I would ask that you keep quiet this time. We need to evaluate the defense's claim.
and your yammering only serves to throw further suspicion your way. Mr. Wright, let's see this one thing you mentioned. But be warned, this had better not be one of your offhanded claims.
Who do you think you're talking to, Mr. Edgeworth?
Very well, Mr. Wright. Please point out for us the one thing that made the moment of the murder possible.
That one moment when it was possible for Mr. Nichody to kill Mr. Bloomsbury. The one thing that made that single moment possible is this. The fog machine.
Take that!
The one thing that made the moment of the murder possible is this thick mood fog that engulfed the entire reception hall. It is under the cover of this fog that Mr. Nichody murdered the victim.
What?
Mr. Nichody was standing right next to the lantern that Mr. Bloomsbury was in. This was the only moment where the murder could have been committed without being seen.
I can accept that there was a moment when the witness was obscured from others by fog. But that doesn't prove Mr. Nichody killed the victim at that very moment. If you can't prove the crime was committed during the reception, the trial ends here.
I was so caught up in finding a foothold that I forgot to think that far ahead.
Well done, Mr. Edgeworth. It's time to call this trial's time of death. Well, Mr. Wright, can you prove the murder happened during the reception?
Don't even bother. His claim is dead on arrival. Victory's within your grasp, prosecutor.
Quiet, witness. I have no interest in victory. All I care about is the truth. One that we can only arrive at through further deliberation. Edgeworth, enough of this!
Your Honor, this trial is over.
No, Mr. Nichody, that is for me to decide. Mr. Wright, can you prove it? Can you prove that the murder was committed during the wedding reception?
Why is there no verdict yet? The lawyer's obviously out of answers. The prosecutor, the judge, they're all infected. Their malignant stupidity is so advanced, not even the best surgeons can save them. In fact, not even a brain transplant could cure them. This court is infected with idiocy. It's a pandemic.
That kind of aged pretty poorly.
Objection!
Mr. Nichody, that's enough already. Finally ready to give up, are you? No, just the opposite, actually. I'll prove the murder was committed during the reception. By you.
Yeah! You'll prove it? Can you really, Mr. Wright?
Yes, I can, Your Honor. To be honest, I don't know exactly how I'll do it just yet. But if I want to get at the truth Edgeworth was talking about, I'll just have to find that way.
Very well, Mr. Wright. Let's have your proof.
Enough of his foolishness. He's just bluffing. Stop him from speaking, Your Honor.
I will do nothing of the sort.
You are just a district court judge with the power of the Sprocket family out.
Enough of your foolishness, Mr. Nichody. This judicial body will not succumb to the influence of money or power. Now then, let's hear it, Mr. Wright. Let's hear your truth.
Think, Phoenix. Remember everything you've learned so far. You can do this. You can find the definitive evidence that will lead us to the truth.
Thought route. Engage.
Think, Phoenix. How can I prove the murder took place during the wedding reception? If Pierce committed the murder during the reception, then he had to have used the murder weapon. Yes, the weapon that was used to strike the victim twice. According to the autopsy report, the victim was hit by the same object both times. So without a doubt, Pierce used it to commit the murder. The weapon used to kill Bloomsbury was the timekeeper. If Pierce struck the victim during that one single moment, then he must have used the timekeeper. Come to think of it, wasn't it also used for something else during the reception? During the reception, the timekeeper was also used for the first startup of love.
The timekeeper had been activated.
That's right. The timekeeper had been activated during the reception. If we activate the timekeeper again now and find any trace evidence of the murder, that would be conclusive proof that Bloomsbury was killed during the reception.
Thought route complete.
A special ceremony took place during the reception in question.
What kind of a special ceremony?
It was called the first startup of love. Apparently, the couple activated the timekeeper for the first time during it.
Does that mean the timekeeper here in evidence isn't activated at the moment? And what would happen if we were to activate it?
Why don't we see for ourselves? It would give us a chance to examine it. And while we're at it, we just might find some conclusive evidence.
What? No! You can't activate it! Mr. Nichody, keep quiet or I'll have you thrown out of court. By the way, Mr. Wright, this is supposed to be a time machine, right? We aren't going to travel back in time to the Stone Age or anything, are we?
I don't think we have to worry too much about that, Your Honor.
I'm still a little nervous, nonetheless, but the truth must be known. Very well, go ahead and start up the timekeeper.
Do you know how, Nick?
I think so. Maybe.
The bride and groom each had a symbol of their love, and when they put them together, how romantic it was. Let's see. I think the symbol of the groom's love must be the timekeeper itself. What symbol of the bride's love would fit together with the timekeeper? Oh, I know. That has to be it.
Mr. Wright, are you ready to activate the time machine now?
Yes, Your Honor. The symbol of the bride's love that's necessary for activating the timekeeper is Ellen's pendant. Miss Wyatt's pendant is the symbol of the bride's love that's necessary for activating the timekeeper.
What? Then does that mean you can start it up with Miss Wyatt's pendant?
I believe so, Your Honor.
Very well. Please try it now, Mr. Wright.
Okay, here I go. But first, I have to figure out where the pendant goes.
Right here.
This hole looks like a good spot. I'll try setting the pendant in here. It fits. This must be the right spot. Now I have to find a place to insert the key. Now, where could it be? Could this be it? The outer casing is made of metal. I sure wouldn't want to get hit with something like this. This hole in the middle of the pendant. Could this be it? Well. It worked! The timekeeper's been activated. Now all I have to do is find proof that the crime was committed during the reception. Yeah, the crack! I think I found it. Conclusive evidence that the murder was committed during the wedding reception. Just as I suspected, there's evidence of the murder inside the timekeeper, Mr. Nichody. The timekeeper was only activated and opened during the wedding reception, right? No! Stop! So that means this is conclusive proof that the crime was committed during the reception. Ah! After you killed the victim under the cover of fog, you closed the timekeeper to hide the bloodstain, didn't you? No! You're wrong! Ellen killed Bloomsbury! It wasn't me, I tell you! Give it up, Mr. Nichody. How could the defendant who was in the middle of pledging her love have possibly committed the murder with everyone watching her? It was the family. Yes, all the family members conspired together to kill him.
There's no way you can talk your way out of this, Mr. Nichody.
During the reception, during that one dreamlike moment, only one person could have used the timekeeper to beat the victim to death. And that one person was you, Pierce Nichody. No, this isn't over yet. I won't give up. Oh no, I cut the artery. This stupid thing. We must stop the bleeding now. Give me forceps. Forceps, I said. Hey, where is everyone?
Fine, I'll manage this alone.
I'll do it all by myself. I can fix anything, repair anything. But you have to get better. You have to live. You must. I would have been able to save her. If only I hadn't listened to her. If only I had treated her first. If only that Sorin hadn't been there. Ah! Selena! No!
Witness, are you finally ready to tell us the truth?
It's just as the lawyer deduced. So it was all a revenge scheme against Sorin Sprocket?
Do you have any idea how hard it is to lose someone you love right in front of you? Selena's condition was clearly more critical than Sorin's, but in spite of that, she said,
"Please help Sorin."
Miss Sprocket's last words.
So that's what she really meant by those words.
I was able to grant her wish, but at the price of her life.
So you got a job with Sprocket Aviation and waited for your chance to get revenge. You got close to Mr. Bloomsbury and hatched this plot. Is that right?
Bloomsbury already bore a grudge against Sorin. So when I tempted him with an even better position, he immediately took the bait. He was your accomplice, someone who shared the same goal as you. Why was it necessary for you to kill him? I didn't expect Sorin to strike Bloomsbury out on the Vista deck. And I certainly never imagined he'd make his way there along the outside wall.
Sorin's love is the real deal after all.
My plan had been compromised, so for the time being, I hid his body in the lantern and tried to think of my next move.
And then Mr. Bloomsbury came too during the second wedding reception.
As soon as I saw Bloomsbury, I instantly hit upon an idea. To pin the blame of Bloomsbury's murder on Ellen.
You tried to break up the couple by making the bride out to be a murderer. How despicable.
Sorin was getting the company and a wedding. Both things that were supposed to be Selena's. He took every happiness from her. Who's the despicable one here?
You think what you did would make her happy?
I know it wouldn't.
But I couldn't just stand by watching Sorin enjoy his happiness. I was going to have Sorin taste the same pain I had and then take over Sprocket Aviation. I would take back from him all of the happiness that was rightfully Selena's.
Messed up. Time stopped for me the day I lost her. Just like this pocket watch of hers.
Ellen! Pierce! Miss Wyatt! I believe Selena would have said, "Leave this ill will behind. Your time is yours to live."
It's too late for me. Time will never advance for me ever again. What? It can't be. I see now, Selena. What I did was wrong. I see no further need to continue this trial. Bailiff, please take Mr. Nichody away. Pierce Nichody, another inconsolable time traveler who lived in time that stood still. Now then, I must render my verdict regarding the defendant. Your Honor, before you give your ruling, would you please allow me a moment? Very well. Ellen, there's something I need to say to you.
Yes, Sorin?
I've put you through something truly horrible. This whole thing happened all because of me. I would understand if you wanted to call off her marriage.
What? Of course not. I've never once thought that.
If you stay with me, you'll only face even more trying times in the future.
What do you mean?
The truth of this incident and the car accident before it. I'm going to tell the public everything. I expect the company's reputation will suffer, and I'll take a lot of criticism. But I feel I can only really start over once I get everything out in the open.
Sorin.
After all that's happened, I might not have the right to ask you this, but... Well, how should I say this? Maybe I'll just... No, say it. A life with me probably won't be very easy, but... Will you marry me?
Yes, of course.
Your Honor, thank you for this time. Please continue with your ruling. Very well. But first I have one question. Do the two of you pledge your eternal love for each other to the goddess of justice, Themis? I do, Your Honor.
I do.
Does the prosecution or the defense have any objections? Well done, Your Honor. No objections here.
The defense has no objections either, Your Honor.
This court finds the defendant, Ellen Wyatt. That's not right. This court finds the defendant, Ellen Sprocket, not guilty. This court is adjourned. September 23rd, 11:36 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 3. Ellen, Sorin, congratulations.
Mr. Wright, I can't thank you enough. If you hadn't exposed the truth, Sorin and I wouldn't. We wouldn't.
But now you can finally start your new life together, right?
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Wright, we'll be holding our real wedding ceremony in the near future. Would you do us the honor of coming? I want you to witness our fresh start. Of course, I wouldn't miss it for the world. And Ellen, this time, it'll finally be happily ever after, right?
Oh, yes.
The two of you have persevered and overcome this trial together. Now, no matter what obstacles come your way, I'm sure you'll be able to handle them. And there's another thing I'm sure of, too. This person will always be watching over the two of you. Selena.
Take that!
Selena?
Yes, I think you're right. And we promise to live life to the fullest. For Selena's sake, too. Right, Sorin?
That's right. Well, we better be on our way.
Yes, my love.
Wow, the old threshold carry, huh? Way to show off. We'll be seeing you. Goodbye for now. I'll be looking forward to that wedding. Hold on tight, Alan.
You better believe I will. I'm never letting you go.
There they go.
You're not thinking of going to that wedding by yourself, are you, boss? You're taking us too, right? Oh boy, I bet there's gonna be all kinds of fancy food there.
Athena, when did you get here?
Just now, I would have been here to cheer you guys on earlier, but Trucy never gave me a chance to slip her way.
You're gonna be in even bigger trouble with her later. Speaking of the wedding, maybe I should ask them to invite Edgeworth.
Mr. Edgeworth? Really? But he thought Ellen was guilty all the way to the end.
That may be true, but...
Don't even bother. His claim is dead on arrival. Victory is within your grasp, prosecutor.
Quiet, witness. I have no interest in victory. All I care about is the truth. One that we can only arrive at through further deliberation.
If he hadn't stood up for us when he did, the trial probably would have ended there. You mean Mr. Edgeworth gave us that chance?
Maybe. Though knowing him, I doubt he'd ever tell even if I asked.
Well, if that's how you feel about it, Nick, then why not try to get him invited? Hey, Maya, have you ever tried to catch the bouquet? What? No. I never have either. Fighting over a bouquet that's been tossed by the bride. Talk about a fierce competition. I'm totally stoked. I'm not sure it's really supposed to be all that competitive. I'm a pretty good jumper, so I think I got a chance.
She's definitely missing the point of the whole thing. And Larry, how did you manage to stay so quiet for so long?
Shut up! Wishing the lady you fell in love with every happiness is what a real man does.
I'm pretty sure that relationship was over before it even began, Larry.
Darn it all. If only I was 10 years younger, things would have gone differently. Hands of time, why won't you turn back for me?
September 30th, 9:20 a.m. Sprocket Park, Mooring Dock. Today is Ellen and Sorin's third wedding ceremony and reception. I heard the bride and groom insisted it be on the Flying Chapel again. In the end, they were nice enough to invite me and Maya. And Athena kind of invited herself. They also invited Edgeworth, Emma, and even Larry. They say third time's the charm, right? I really do hope it's happily ever after for them this time around. Still, I get the feeling it's gonna be one rowdy party.
Ready when you are. Okay, here we go!
Oh, hey! Look who's next! Huh?
Get back! Haven't you ever heard of late
I'm truly blessed to have you.
And that concludes Turnabout Time Traveler. What a happy ending. Well, somewhat. But this also concludes Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. I am done with the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy. But I'm not even finished yet. I'm not at all. Yeah, there is still a lot more that we have to do, and there's like a lot. I don't know why. Yeah, we still got to do all the movies, but I'm going to have them as both in English and in Japanese. And I could have sworn they would have included an additional scene. Wait, what? It doesn't? I'm very disappointed. But I am kind of okay with it. So yeah, my work with this is finally over. And look forward to the extra stuff that I have planned for it. This includes all the cutscenes. For Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, they will be in both English and in Japanese. So to anyone that wants to do English subs for the Japanese version, please let me know. Please get in touch if you can. I would like to especially thank Capcom for giving me this opportunity to finally be able to experience it. And before I end the video, there's basically Turnabout Storytell. Oh wait, not everything was done. All right, I forgot. I didn't complete that. Yeah, that sucks. They've also added other ones like stylish threads, playing the game in any one of the costumes, having learned about Trucy's monthly allowance, which is basically progress, as well as one juror's verdict, getting the bad ending. And you can have him presented Phoenix with the Themis Herald, problem with love, birds on the brain, Betty's life choices, a rebellious recipe, foot meet mouth, always on the defensive, ladders and step ladders, Mr. Charlie the houseplant, and a man of many hats. That's a lot. And once you complete all of these, you unlock all the achievements. Yeah, so anyone who's going to get the Platinum Trophy on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, there you go. So yeah, my work is done. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you look forward to the extra stuff that I have planned. And if you enjoyed this, please be sure to hit the like button. It means a lot. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell. And I will see you then. This is MegamanNG signing off. Peace out. See you next time. And thank you.